Welcome to the MedTech Innovator 2020 Showcase at the MedTech Conference. I'm Paul Grand, CEO at MedTech Innovator. We find and accelerate the most promising startups and scale-ups in our industry by pairing them with leading strategics. For the next 20 minutes, you're going to have a chance to learn about some of the most exciting companies we've selected this year. We're going to begin by showing 1-minute videos produced by each of these companies, and then our expert moderator will lead a discussion. Here are their videos.
Safe surgery shouldn't come at the cost of more radiation. So how can a flash of light change this?
My name is Bo Standish, and I'm a founder and the CEO of 7D Surgical. Navigation has changed the way we do surgery. It allows a surgeon, much like a GPS, to see delicate anatomy, providing much less invasive procedures. But navigation comes at a detrimental cost. It routinely increases the overall surgical workflow and can add undue radiation to everyone in the operating room. That's because an intraoperative CT is required, which maps the patient's anatomy. This can add up to over 200 equivalent chest x-rays to the patient, the operating room staff, and add up to 30 minutes per case.
As a surgeon, I'm very concerned about radiation exposure, its cumulative effects over my lifetime, over my career.
At 7D Surgical, we have a new vision for surgery, machine vision. We can achieve navigation all through the flash of a light. We use our own cameras and our own intelligent software to take instantaneous three-dimensional maps of the patient. This takes that existing 30-minute workflow down to less than 30 seconds, all without the need for intraoperative radiation. Let's elevate the standard of care to provide a safer, faster, radiation-free surgery for everyone, all through the flash of a light.
There are millions of people who suffer from failing mitral heart valves. Sadly, only 2% of them are treated. Mori Medical aims to change that by leveraging robotics and giving interventionalists the tools they need. Mori's robotic system is driven by fluidics, guided by augmented reality instrumentation, and visualized within a 3D digital interface to control placement of structural heart valve therapies. This revolutionary step improves outcome while requiring far less training and procedure time. Now, inserting a mitral valve leaflet clip is as easy as moving a cursor on a computer screen, placing the power to serve patients in the palm of a single hand. Co-founders Mark Barish and Philip Labby, as well as the entire Mori team, have created this technology to help save lives, enabling doctors to fix hearts from the inside and reach a vastly unmet patient need. Mori Medical, fixing hearts and saving lives. Find us at morimedical.com.
Surgical robotics has the promise to improve surgical precision, dexterity, and visualization, ultimately leading to reduced blood loss and a shorter hospital stay for the patient. And yet, only 5% of surgical procedures are performed robotically today. And this lack of adoption is largely due to 3 key limitations: long setup times, a steep learning curve, and the loss of the surgeon's sense of touch. And so to address these limitations, we've developed ForceFilm. It's a patented, paper-thin, surgeon-level sensitivity, non-contact force-sensing film that's built into any surgical instrument and into the structure of the surgical robot, allowing the robot to respond to human touch for quick and intuitive setup and control at the robot, and uses haptic force feedback to recreate the surgeon's sense of touch at the surgeon's console as if they were handling the tissue with their own hands. So please reach out to us about integrating ForceFilm into the next generation of your surgical robotic system.
I'm Arvind, founder and CEO of 8Chili. We are working on a platform that will reimagine the surgical training experience. In the last 100 years, a surgeon's access to cutting-edge technology has transformed patient outcomes. However, the way a surgeon trains even today has not changed much, with no way for a cerebral osmosis of an experienced surgeon's experience. It does not take weeks, months, or years, but decades to become an expert surgeon. Complications are a part of their core business. Hence, we are building Navic's Air, AIR is our proprietary platform that allows residents to transport into the surgeon's eyes and see the surgical field in the glory of photorealistic 3D, only to experience the nuances of surgeries, complications, and everything in between. They can practice simultaneously with virtual tools in a live surgery, bringing them closer to skill mastery faster than ever.
Well, hello and welcome to MedTech Innovator, the Next Gen Surgical Showcase. I'm Tanya Danowski. I'm with Johnson & Johnson. It's my pleasure to be here. At J&J, I have the privilege of leading business development for one of the many divisions within the medical device sector, and so I get to work and meet entrepreneurs all the time. So it's my pleasure to introduce these four gentlemen today who are also entrepreneurs. We're going to have a little Q&A and discussion, and I'm hoping it's very interactive. As I think people will know when they watch this video, these four companies were selected out of 1,000. So clearly they stood head and shoulders above their peers. And I think there'll be a lot of lessons learned from their experiences to share today. I'd like to introduce all four to you. I will start with Bo Standish he's the CEO of, yes, thank you, 70 Surgical, let's wave for sure. Aravind Upadhyaya, did I say it right, Aravind? I'm working on it. Who is the CEO of 8 Chili. Robert Brooks is the CEO of ForceFilm, and Mark Barish is the CEO of Mori Medical. Thanks, gentlemen. Excellent. So we have a little over 20 minutes to be together. I'm going to ask a few questions. I did give you a preview. Well, not all of you saw that, but my first question, I'm going to start with Aravind. If you can take a minute just to give a description of the company so that everybody knows, but then I really would like to know what was the inspiration for you in the formation of the company.
Thanks, Tanya. Sorry, I didn't get your name, but I think thanks, Tanya. So I'm a technologist, so I've been working on technology space, like working on mixed reality, AI, computer vision for the last 10 years. And somewhere in 2016, I had this revelation when I got hands-on on the augmented reality device, Microsoft HoloLens. It's like a power of spatial computing that can be unleashed, especially for remote collaboration. That's when the journey started for us at 8 Chili. So the last 2.5 years has been a lot of work on de-risking the technological concept that we had in our minds. And so today, we are having a prototype ready that provides what we call an experiential remote collaboration platform for surgeons and residents and fellows. So that's in a nutshell about what we are doing at 8 Chili. And why we wanted to do that, like when we looked at, like when I started, I'm not a person from a medical device background, so I'm an engineer, computer science engineer. So when I started going to meet surgeons, so I used to there was one thing that was clearly standing out, like the way juniors or fellows learn from surgeons, they never get to see the surgeon's perspective. I mean, they have some cameras, they get to look on a television monitor what the surgeon's seeing. But those are all like passive ways of learning. And we realized that it takes a lot of effort. Like complications is the core of every surgery. How is anybody going to learn about the complication? How are you going to transfer the experience of a surgeon to a junior? And that was the the moment we realized that there has to be a better way of experiencing what a surgeon experiences. So
That's great.
so that's why we're doing what we're doing right now.
Yeah, I am grateful I had a chance to be a sales rep for a few years and to be in the OR, and that time to see what's going on and understand the whole experience. And to your point, complications, fortunately they were unusual and rare, but nonetheless it's very it's the bread and butter. The basic stuff is straightforward, generally speaking. It's when things go wrong that they really need to have the skills to help them. Awesome. Thank you so very much. I'm going to go right to left on my screen. Mark Barish, you're next. So the same for you. A quick overview of Mori Medical, and then what inspired you with starting this company?
Mori Medical is bringing robotics to structural heart therapies. My background is I've been working in Silicon Valley with medical device startups for 20 years, and I've seen a whole series, many with fantastic technology and a few that actually designed around the needs that the clinicians and the patients really had. And really the highlight has been working in the past with those few entrepreneurs that really concentrate on the needs rather than the technologies. What started me personally on this was I actually have 3 people that I care very much about that happen to all have mitral valve disease in some form or another. And having seen the structural heart tools that are out there and the ones that are frankly doing very well and helping a select group of people, but knowing that that those benefits are not available to the mass of patients that are out there that really need the help. And then having worked with robotics companies and seeing that there's a way to bridge that need and bring the benefits to the masses of patients who need them.
Yeah, I think there's always a personal element to so many of our inspirations, so thank you. Robert, we'll go to you. I think you're next on my list. Can you do a quick introduction about ForceFilm and what was the inspiration for you in starting this company?
Yeah, so we are ForceFilm and we make a digital sense of touch for surgical robotics, what you'd call technically force reflecting haptics. And the reason we're doing this is because, or I guess the reason we started this is this has been a long-standing problem. The FDA actually cited this in the approval of the very first surgical robot, and to this date, we still don't have, a true human-level sense of touch in surgical robotics. So it's been a long-standing problem, and it's been a bit of a barrier to adopting this around the world and training surgeons faster. I've seen very experienced surgeons start out with a surgical robotics system and snap a suture the first time out. So it takes a lot of time, even for an experienced laparoscopic surgeon, to move into those systems. So I think this is an opportunity to really see robotics enter the mainstream, and not just in the US, but globally.
Great, thank you so very much. And Bo, I don't want to say saving the best for last, but you are the last one on my screen. So can you, a quick introduction about 7D Surgical and the inspiration for you as well?
Thanks very much, Tanya, and also for the opportunity to share part of the 7D story and why we are doing what we do. So our company, we create image-guided surgery technologies to help surgeons see deeply into the patient's anatomy in both spine and the cranial marketplaces. Those two initial intended uses combine almost 1.5 million procedures just in the US per year, so a very big market. Now, our product has been designed to take existing workflows of over 30 minutes down to about 30 seconds at a price point that's a half to a third that of competitive technologies. And the way we've achieved this is by leveraging our backgrounds in machine vision and in some of the early works of artificial intelligence to allow our camera systems to understand what they're looking at. And the problem here is something that everyone has faced at home. How do you put a screw through drywall into a stud when you want to hang a picture on the wall? You can't see where you're going. Well, we provide that visual feedback continuously to the surgeon. Think of it as a GPS for the surgeon. And by the way, we figured out how to do this without the need for intraoperative radiation, making it very safe for the patient and the operating room staff. And the genesis of 7D came from the technical need. The clinical need. That's very important. We did not design a technology and then find a home. Myself and my founders, in fact, we're all previously from the graduates of the Faculty of Medicine in Toronto, Canada. One of our founders went on to become a staff neurosurgeon. So we literally cut our teeth in the operating room and had hundreds of cases under our belts before we made our first prototype of this technology. So we've really designed something that improves surgical workflow. Most technologies complicate surgical workflow while improving patient outcome.
That's great, thank you. Now I think, Bo, you're commercial, correct? At this point in time?
We are commercial, so we have jurisdictions, regulatory approvals with the FDA, Health Canada, CE Mark, Health Science Authority in Singapore. We're in over 40 hospitals, and we've broken the 16 million US revenue just in about the last 20 months.
Good for you. So this kind of, knowing that you're at that point, what would you say was the biggest challenge that you and the company faced to date, and how did you overcome it? Maybe
So
maybe set aside COVID for a minute, because I think that's a whole other, like,
yeah,
if we could
that's
maybe pre-March, just and I'm not making fun of COVID. I think that's like a whole other like world, but just if we could just focus on, maybe pre, and then we can talk about post.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that with myself and my executive team, it's the biggest challenge is not knowing what you didn't know. Myself and the founders of the company, we had never grown a medical device company. In fact, we've never started a company before. This is our first venture. So the way you overcome that aspect of not knowing what you don't know is really having to surround yourself with advisors, with mentors, attracting key executives onto the team who've done it before, who can help lay that groundwork to move forward in the medical device industry. And for everyone who's in entrepreneurship, we always have this vision, and unfortunately social media makes it even worse, that in a year after you start something, you're gonna be sitting on a beach and typing on a laptop. Well, that does not exist.
You kind of are. If you look at my background, we
Yeah,
are kind
yeah.
of sitting, but yes, no, you're right.
Yeah.
There is that vision of how rapidly it all comes together.
And that is the farthest from the truth. And not to take up all the time here, but the quick analogy is we thought that we had the problem solved when our academic prototype was successful in our first clinical case. That was almost 4 to 5 years ago from the commercial side. So the difficulties of regulatory approval, selling a product, are quite arduous in any medical device company. And we're just very fortunate to have an amazing team, an amazing technology, and quite frankly, making and meeting the clinical need for our surgeons.
Yeah, I think also, really quite frankly, I think all four of you are venturing into unknown space as well with, I'm going to call it the digital component, right? This whole element that we're layering on to maybe some of the more traditional medical device world. So let me just ask, I think I know, who else is commercial here? Mark, are you guys commercial?
We are not. We're revenue generating, but not commercial.
Your revenue, okay, all right. And Robert, you and Ervin, are you either one of you commercial yet?
No, we're not
No.
yet.
Yeah, revenue generating, but not commercial yet.
Okay, all right. Well, let's start with Robert. I'm going diagonal on my screen. What have you found is your biggest challenge to date, and how have you overcome that?
Yeah, so we've been solving a long-standing problem that the robotic manufacturers, surgical robotic manufacturers, have known they had. So our biggest challenge was just convincing them that we actually did have the solution and that it worked. You can quite frankly say anything and write anything in an email, but getting their time, building them systems, proving that it works, takes time, because they've probably tried many times before. They've had many other companies say they can. Right. So that's probably been the biggest hurdle, is just showing people that you have that technical capability.
Yep, I understand. I know you've had your challenges trying to find your way into J&J. We're working on that. So I'll go to Ervin, because I think I saw you nodding your head too. What about the challenges you faced, and how did you overcome them?
So our biggest challenge was technical, because we are like, what we are trying to do is give you the avatar experience, but also allowing you to be a character of your choice in that movie. So imagine that. So that's exactly our platform. So all of that should happen on the existing infrastructure, the Wi-Fi and all of those things inside an operating room. That's it really sucks. So getting all of those things working under let's say a latency of 10 milliseconds, live stream a 3D scene and make it all of that. It took us almost 2 years to crack that. I mean, the other pieces of the puzzles were there. Just this bit was taking us quite a lot of time. And but when we showed it to surgeons, I mean, they love it. I mean, that it's about when they see it, they see the experience of it. So I can't say about the market and the commercialization, because we're not there yet. We have lined up our pilots. But so far it has been, purely, to get this unique experience on the technical side, getting to the pilots.
Well, I'm grateful to know it took you 2 years, because it feels like you geniuses kind of figure these things out overnight. So I'm not grateful. I'm relieved, I guess. Mark, I'll move to you. What would you say has been the biggest challenge for you and the company, and how have you overcome that?
So Gary Goodhart at Intuitive, from way back when I was working with him in the early days, but the mantra has gone on from other companies as well, started saying, look, if you're going to bring a robot to market, you're going to have to build 10,000 mechanical parts, get them working together, and put together the code. and that's in order to just show functionality. In some ways, if you're adding new functionality onto an existing robot, you can potentially show that with an existing structure like the Intuitive Da Vinci or other very fine products that are out there. We came up with what we thought was a new basic architecture for a robot. And when we were able to move around and have something wiggling on the desk driven by fluid, we thought, I mean, we were dancing and singing. But we found that even though we were able to drop down the requirements for a robot from 10,000, when we went into our first animal lab, we had 200 mechanical parts and less than 50,000 lines of code because we have a very different architecture. What we really found is just being able to solve part of the problem is not enough. You've got to pull together the user interaction that shows the overall benefit of the system. And as we're a new functional robot, that meant going through that exercise. So we've actually got that, and we can now drive it remotely through the internet, thanks to COVID in part. But that was a big challenge in our progression.
Wild. It's some of the benefits of COVID. There's going to be something we'll reflect on, I think, in years to come and looking back. Mark, I had you last of the questions of this circle, so let me ask you this: why should someone invest in Mori Medical?
We actually would take a look at where we are and where we're going to be in say 2 years. Mm-hmm. We've gone through iterating to develop a robot which we can put in front of KOLs, have them drive, and which the folks that know what the capabilities that are needed in the structural heart world and how they're currently lacking and how we can fill that need. And if we look 2 years from now, when we'll have filed a 510K, gotten validation, and be able to really quantify the advantages of our products for clinicians and hospital administrators and everyone else, we're going to have turned out to have been a really wonderful investment at a time that our near-term investors are going to see very nice upside.
Good returns. Great. Thank you. Bo, I'll go to you. Going diagonal on my screen now. Why should someone invest their money in 7D Surgical?
Well, I think you would want to invest your money in 7D Surgical for the same reason that our current investors have invested in 7D Surgical. In fact, I've raised over $20 million US to date, and without any institutional money. This are from people who have seen the technology from the clinical side, who understand the benefits that we are bringing to our patients' lives every day. We have thousands of cases under our belt. We're very efficient at the deployment of capital. So we've only taken in about 20 million US, and yet I'm already generating over 16 million US just in those last about 20 months. So we're very efficient with the deployment of capital. And I think that because we're in that commercial phase, the return on our product has been greatly de-risked. We don't have to wait for regulatory approvals. In fact, we don't have to wait for clinicians' buy-in. We have multiple product lines. We have multiple intended uses of those products. And I have a big vision, a big scope for 7D that we want to become the dominant imaging company on the planet.
Great, thank you. Ervin, next. Why should someone invest company in 8 Chili?
Investors should invest in 8 Chili because whoever invests in 8 Chili is going to invest in the future of autonomous surgeries because we're collecting a data lake. We're not a remote surgical training company or a remote surgical collaboration platform. That's just the means to an end. Our end game is to create this data lake that's going to train autonomous robots, like to perform surgeries by itself. And we have a really strong, focused team that has had exits in the past, proven background. But I think we have that combination to execute on the vision that we have. So yeah, so investors should invest. If they are looking at the future, then we are the right company to invest in.
Great, thank you. And I'm getting the signal. We've only got a little bit more than a minute left. So Robert, for ForceFilm, why would somebody invest in your company?
I think ForceFilm is a great investment right now because we have a well-known problem. It's the adding that sense of touch back into surgical robotics. We've already built out prototype systems for 11 major surgical robotics and robotics manufacturers, and now we're marching towards market. So yeah, we have the partners, we've shown the use of the technology, and now we're scaling up. So I think it's an excellent time to invest and come with us. And the long-term vision is ultimately to build the force sensing capability, the tactile capability of every surgical robot on the market.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, I want to thank all of you for your time and the dialogue. I found it really enlightening. I've had a chance, I think, to speak with most of you personally in prior MedTech Innovator sessions. So nice to have the group panel. I wish you all the best of luck. And if anybody out there is interested in meeting these companies, you can use the MedTech Connect to schedule those meetings. Thank you, everybody, for coming today.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for having us.
I hope you enjoyed this discussion. It's actually one of 17 showcase panels available on demand to you during the conference. And you can search for MedTech Innovator in the conference agenda to find our other sessions. Most importantly, you will not want to miss the MedTech Innovator Finals, October 6th, live, where your vote will determine who wins the first prize of $350,000. Looking forward to seeing you at the finals on October 6th. Visit us at medtechinnovator.org to learn more about us and these companies.